today. We're on part 2 of this stream. We did the first one on Tuesday this week, and now we're doing the second part. We were thinking about naming the countries in the world of Raindrop Chronicles, and we had just gotten started. There's more to go. Maybe we can finish it today, that's the goal. So we made a Google Doc of all the countries that we're going to have. We've worked out that there's going to be 4. So I made it all neat and tidy. Let me get the paint file of the map open so you guys can see what I've done in case you missed the last stream or you're wondering what the world looks like. I wanted to put it all on a Google Doc so that we could see it all more easy, and we didn't have to keep switching between the doc and this paint file. And this is very messy. And this might be irrelevant now, the whole language thing with the bistros, because I'm not sure we're going to actually focus on making that part of the country name. It might feel a little bit on the forced, unnatural side. But one thing we do know is that we saw a clear split between the one big continent that the world is on. They get the game, and then we thought, yeah, let's split it further into 4 parts, and now we've got 4 countries, and it works out nicely because we've got a big city in each, apart from this one. This one doesn't have a big city yet. It might in the future though. It might not, we don't know. But we have the capital of the southeast is where the government, monarchy are based. It's also where we begin the game in Everbloom Forest, and we've got all these cool little areas bordering that capital. And then we've got the urban zone, which is another big populated city, but it's more gritty and it's not under control of any ruler. It's and then we've got the fairy city on the floating continent, which is like its own independent nation and country as well. And these 2 places are basically part of it because the corrupted zone is underneath it. We thought maybe putting the Badlands with it, but I'm not sure at this time. It kind of feels more like it belongs in this country, but we'll see. We can always adjust if we feel so. Now back to the Google Doc. Now we've shown you that. It's pretty straightforward, a country in each corner. And we don't want to call them southeast, southwest, northeast, northwest any longer. We want some nice names for them so it can start to feel more like a proper world. I think that'll go a long way. And hi Van, how are you doing? Well, I'm not working on Blue Mage today, so I don't want to gouge my eyes out. Oh gosh, Blue Mage, yes. I remember having a go at that a little bit when I played Final Fantasy 14. I've got something on my lip. Trying to get it off, it's stuck. Doing well, my nephew's here with me. My internet is also having problems, so I can't tell if you're freezing just then or is it your end or mine. There, now you're back. Yeah, well, maybe that's the case. Maybe it's your end, maybe it's mine. If anyone else who's here hanging out is also tells me I'm freezing, then we'll know it's my end. If not, then it's probably yours. We'll soon find out as the stream goes on, won't we? Is Van, anyone else popping in? We have again connection issues today. It's very annoying. Because all I want to do is stream and get on with this, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it's working now. I know we had the same issue last week, and then the rest of the stream went fine, it seemed anyway. It was a bit of a strange stream though. but it seemed like it worked. It started working. I'm hoping today it'll be fine as well. But like I said, anything dodgy going on, just let me know so I'm aware of it. But if not, tell me that everything's running fine, and that'll help as well, because I'll feel like, yay. Seems to be okay so far. That's promising. Indeed. You can learn some blue magic spells in dungeons, so we can queue for dungeons to learn the spells. We can queue for dungeons to learn the spells, right? Yeah, I don't know what I think of the blue mage in Final Fantasy XIV. It feels like a bit of an odd class. Not sure if it fit with the rest of the game, but it was something different, I guess. Everything's been fine while I've been here, yeah. That's good. Should we carry on now with our stream? So we got the Southeast country. We did start a little bit on some name ideas and on all the others as well. So the goal for today is to make a short list of country names for each of the 4. I think that'd be good. And then we might be able to pull up a poll. If we're like in this sort of, oh, there's a few that we like here or a few that could work, then a poll is always a great thing to do. So we'll see how it goes. I've said I would ideally like, to think of a few so we give ourselves plenty of choice. And also it'd be great if the country names we come up with are quite easy to say and pronounce, and it's a nice word that flows well, the syllables. So we have like a technique where we think of a short phrase that sums up the regional description of the area or their history or beliefs, something that really gets to the heart of what this country is about. Their landmarks, their scenery, and then we sort of take that phrase and sort of word mash it. We word mush it, so we take a couple of letters in the first word, a couple of letters in the second, and we just have our fingers crossed that it's a word that sounds pretty cool. Sometimes it fails and you've got something that really doesn't sound right or look right. But then other times you think, actually, that's quite a nice word for a country. And it's a good, realistic way of making countries. I've been doing a bit of research into it recently, and it's a good way to do it because usually over time, over many years, that's naturally what happens to places as more settlers move there and the people living there change, because they sort of shorten words, mispronounce words, and it becomes something a lot more simpler. A bit like we said, was it Boltoff Stone? Once upon a time this place called Boltoff Stone existed and it became Boston because they took the BO bit and then the STON bit on stone became Boston, and that's kind of something that happens, and it's a pretty cool technique. It's quite a simple way for us to make cool sounding country names without needing to rack our brains too much. So it's all going to be about coming up with more cool phrases today, because we've only got a few. We haven't really got that many yet. We only made a little bit of a start last stream. And then I put more words to simplify that it could have turned into over time. And there's a bit of potential there for some of them. Some of them are a bit, but others are like, yeah, maybe. I put in your suggestion that you gave Van last stream. I added that one. And one thing I think I'd like is that if each of the 4 countries all begin with a different letter, so that they can feel very unique from each other and we don't get mixed up and confused. If 2 of them say begin with F or something, I'd be inclined to go for one of them that has a different letter to make it sound a bit more unique from another country. And having your friends drag you through a ton of content that I don't, have friends who want to do that. Yeah, that's the problem with blue. I say boycott the blue mage, Dave. Or can't you? Do you have to do it? I suppose I can get wanting to 100% all the jobs, because I was a bit like that. I was like, I'm going to get to max level in all the jobs. Never happened, because it's too time consuming. Seemed too much of a pain to get the spells, yeah. If you want to say hi to my nephew, you can call him Chicken Nugget. Hi, Chicken Nugget. That's a cool name. Well, a cool nickname anyway. The blue has the potential to be a lot of fun. It's a bit overpowered, isn't it? Can just kill things dead easy, from what I remember. I'm also streaming in Just Chatting Bikes. Not sure if you noticed. I'm just trying out a few things. You'll find me switching between Just Chatting, Science and Technology and Art categories probably for the foreseeable future. I'm kind of doing a bit of a test, a bit of experiment to see which of the categories is more beneficial for the channel. And obviously you can't find that out after just a couple of streams. It takes, a bit of momentum, and that has to build, and you have to look at the stats and see what's helping, because Science and Technology used to be okay before 24/7 animal cams and weed cams started to come about back last year. And it just seems like it's very oversaturated now with lots of random catch-all things. And I used to get sometimes between half a dozen and a dozen followers every single stream. But now I'm lucky to get one follower per stream. Sometimes it's very common to just get 0 followers in a stream, and the community isn't growing. There's no new people coming. It's just a place where us folks that really care about Raindrop Chronicles are hanging out, which is great, because obviously that's really helpful for when we come up with ideas together and have streams like this. But it's not really anything that's gonna give visibility to the game in the long run, which is kind of a bit of a shame, because that's kind of one of the purposes of stream, of course. And that's why I'm just trying out a few different things. I don't know if Just Chatting is going to help. In fact, it's probably going to be worse than Science and Technology, because that's even more oversaturated. But at least people know Just Chatting exists. Whereas Science and Technology, I've gone into streams, people have given me a shout out and be like, what have you been doing? Have you been building a spaceship, Grace? I'm like, no, we're making a game. And everybody's like, game dev is in Science Technology? I didn't know that was a thing. And nobody knows, which is a bit of a problem. And Twitch aren't really willing to listen to any game devs. Even partnered game devs are ones with a lot of influence, they're ghosting. It's very poor service and communication. Very, very disappointed in Twitch at the moment. If it just sucked, I'd discard it and call it a day. There's a lot of cool interactions between the spells, and I want to play around with the kit and the spell books to have fun shenanigans. Yeah, you're going to get me back into Final Fantasy 14 at this rate, Dave. Be nice if Twitch has made a damned game dev category exist. I mean, it's not hard, is it? I mean, the best of it is the guy that started the petition actually has made the art for the directory already, or someone he knows did. So they've made the job easy for Twitch. They don't even have to make the art for the directory. And on the user voice, it's the most popular category. It's had nearly 4,000 votes. And I still don't want to respond after months. So it's like, what's going on? I tried to talk to Twitch support they ignored everything I said, but responded to everybody else that was sending them messages. So it's really, I'm convinced they're a bot. I think that they're a bot, aren't they? Whoever runs the Twitter accounts for Twitch and Twitch support, they've got to be. Because anyone who's an actual human would, they would say something. Which data centre are you on again? I used to be in the EU on Odin, I think, but I moved to the US server. Oh my goodness, I forgot. It's the same one that Rex is on, because I went on to play with him. But it's been that long now, I've even forgot what one that is. Maybe Rex remembers. Maybe he does. We'll have to ask him if he comes in today. I'm terrible. Which one? I don't even know. Lol. All I know is it's one of the US ones. The one beginning with A. Either? Yeah, that one. Yeah. The first one, Van. But I don't know the actual server within that one that I'm on. I might, if you mention them, I'll know once I see it, but I can't think off the top of my head which one. I remember seeing the clip where you surprised him and it was a double. Yeah, that clip, that went viral. That's like my most popular tweet I've ever had. It was like, whoa, everybody loved that one. I think it like had like over 1,000 likes or something bonkers. my notifications wouldn't stop for days. I'm also on Crystal. Oh, that's awesome. Crystal was a new one, wasn't it? They added it. But yeah, so just experimenting with some Twitch categories, but you never know. I might add game development one day. And I'm not expecting that to fix all my problems, but it'll be really cool to actually have a home on Twitch and have a directory where there's just game devs. Okay, so let's carry on with this. This will be fun to do. So I'm going to underline any that are promising. In fact, I mean, all of them could work. We'll wait till the end and do the short list, and we'll just come up with some phrases for now. So here's what we got so far. I think for this country, the southeast one, we're going with nature themes. And maybe with a bit of elven there, because we've added Elf's Garden, because elves were the ones that lived there first and had the power for the longest period of time. Yorasar is the elf member of the Elven Pantheon. Well, what am I talking about? Elven. He's the elf in the Pantheon. So there's 6 in the Pantheon, all of them. There's one of each race, sort of. There's kind of, apart from human and kit. No, there is a kit one. What am I talking about? Apart from human and the kit cat. But yeah, so that's that name. In case you're thinking, who's Yorasar? He's the most famous elf. So we thought we'd stick his name in, seeing as we have usually people and rulers who once lived there can be what place names are named after, so it felt fitting to add him in, considering he's already a named character. But if we want to be generic, we could always go for Elsgard and Elga. Don't sound too bad, but who knows, we could come up with more country names. But yeah, anything nature inspired, because their most famous landmark monument is the Lakefall Tree. Again, a strong nature theme. We've also got a farmland region nearby the forest, swamp, beach, and obviously the capital. It's a medieval sort of feel. There's a king, there's a government. There's rule in this country. It's very picturesque and pretty, scenic, very nature for sure. So we got a few there already. I think we can push it more and think of some nature phrases to make country names from. Let's move on to the next one. This one, the Northeast country. Now this one is north of this country. And what we have here is the coldest areas, the mountains region, as well as the snow and salt flats, and it's probably less populated, more deserted. And the beast races, the furry beast races, tended to be known to live here, which fits great because of course long fur and that cold regions make sense for a place where they'd be. The most famous landmark and the monument is the Tower of Light, which if you were in our Pantheon streams just before I moved house, you might know what that refers to. But every single member of the Pantheon, each of the 6 legends, have a monument that symbolises them. And every monument is evenly placed somewhere in the world. We've got some in the south, some in the north, some in the southwest, and no 2 monuments are too close together. There's like quite a good spread. And this Tower Light monument was the monument of an elven vampire whose name is Lucer. And he's named Lucer because Lu symbolises light and luminosity, and Sa because he lived in the old ages, he keeps the Sa end of his name just like Yorosar does. Elves of nowadays tend to have normal names like Bob. Well, not Bob of course. It's a bit too normal. So because of that, because of thinking of what this country's like, any phrases that evoke coldness, and obviously light, because that's the famous landmark, are great. We've already got Tower Light, Light Finger, Finger of Light here. We can also have something like, oh my goodness, there's me rambling on and I get this raid. Thank you so much, I appreciate it, folks. Hi Karma, hi Steve, hi Serge, hi Robert Tables. Welcome folks, I hope I've welcomed everyone in and said everyone's names right. How you doing? How was your stream? I hope you all had a good stream, folks. Nothing evokes calm like a big raid, right? Howdy, hi life-size teddy bear. I love your name. That's an awesome name. Let's give C Sharp a shout out. Super appreciate you bringing your community over. Thank you. How was your stream? What did you get up to? Tell me. What we're doing here today, we are actually, if I scroll up, it will be a bit. We're coming up with place names, country names specifically for the world of our game, because our game, I'm making an RPG game in RPG Maker, and it's very, very lore and story driven, this game is, and a lot of our streams tend to be story character streams, world building streams in particular, because they're wonderful to do on stream with the community. We come up with some really cool things together, so I really love those sort of streams. And today it's about place names, and we're I've got Google Doc open, and we're summing up each of the countries so far, and they've got boring names at the moment, just Southeast country, Northeast country, Southwest country, and yeah, so we want something nice, we want something it'll be a good time to do that now, because every time we're building the world and writing the story, we keep referring to these places as the South and the West. And it's going to be more inspiring to finally have a name for them. Then thank you for the follows, folks. I super appreciate that. Thank you so much. If anybody does want to have a look at the website for the game, feel free to have a peek. I recently gave that website a bit of an update. because I made the decision to do the tile set art myself now. Originally, it was community RPG maker assets that were there, but then I took the big leap to finally start doing it all myself, and it's kind of daunting, but the right decision, I feel, because it gives a bit of a unique sort of feel to the game. It's not, you don't use the assets everybody else does then, and so it's a good feeling. But what's up so far, there's some very early screenshots of that new tile set. There's going to be detail and layers added over time to that. So you know, folks. I haven't shown any of it off on social media yet, so not many people know that I'm doing my own tile set art yet, because I want to wait till it's a little bit further ahead before it gets shown. But feel free to have a look. There's other stuff on there too, like an FAQ page and my YouTube VODs. I've got all the VODs up of all the streams. I've been kind of mad to keep up with those uploads, but I have. But I hope you're all having a wonderful week. Great to have you with us. And if you love world building and a good fantasy story, I think you'd like these streams, personally. Okay, so carrying on with where we are, I wanted to give everybody a bit of an introduction to the stream. So you all knew what we were doing, so I wasn't just rambling to myself and everyone's like, what's going on here? We are coming up with some names, and I have a little bit of a technique for coming up with names now. I typed in YouTube naming fantasy countries or something in the search, because I wanted to know a good way to do it, and there was some really cool videos. Hello Future Me, I think is the name of one of them. I'm subbed to them now on YouTube. They gave some really, they're sponsored by Worldbuilding as well, funnily enough, which is the tool I use for my law Bible. Check it out, Worldbuilding's pretty cool. And it's really good for world builders. And they gave a few tips in the video on what to do, and a really good technique is to come up with like a descriptive phrase for an area. Like, for example, this country's like cold, it's got a very famous landmark that's a Tower of Light. So coming up with descriptive phrases that link to the coldness and the Tower of Light is kind of the goal for this one, and then we sort of simplify that phrase, we sort of smush the words together, so it's we take, say, the start of this word and then the start of that word, or the end of this word, and sort of come up with something that sounds like a country name. Because over time, years and years ago, like centuries ago, people probably would have referred to it as what it is here, but then it becomes something else. People miss letters out and want to have something that's easier to say. And so we can think of similar words, like we got finger of light. And we can think of similar ones if we want as well, because I want us to have a lot of choice here when we're coming up with country names. We're going to make a short list when we've got loads. Now Chicken Nugget wants to make a Zelda style game for his mum. Oh really, that's really cool. I say go for it. Oh, wants you to make a Zelda style game. I thought Chicken Nugget wanted to do it themselves then, when you said that. Well, are you willing to do it, Matt? Or is it something that's not on the cards? Thank you for the follows, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you. Alright, so I'm having a little look through all of them, and then we've got the Southwest Country, which is very... We sum this place up as the land of the free, the land of artists, creators' haven, and all that, followers of dreams, because people back in the day escaped the East, where it was under strict rule and war, and they escaped to have a life of freedom and peace and luxury. So that's kind of the history of this area, and it's a lot more gritty, and it's kind of, over time, it's kind of lost its way. It used to be an art haven, but it's become more of a criminal haven now. But it's still, at heart, that's what it is. Sometimes the words really don't work, but sometimes when we've done it, we're like, actually, that's cool. We came up with Valley Spa for this one, and I think we liked the sound of that. But then it turned out it's a brand of paint or something. Well, Val Spa is anyway, but are we going to get sued? Because I like it. But if we want to like make it a bit different from Valley Spa, we could always remove the R bit and have it as Valley Spa. It's pronounced the same, the R's just not there. You know, so I've sort of simplified it from Valley Spa to Valley Spa like that. And that came from the phrase valiant spark, or spark of the valiant. You just turned that around, and that was a cool one. Raised city was one phrase I came up with, because this area is known as being a city that was raised. So it is a floating continent. So Citra came from that. Is that a brand or something else? I know Final Fantasy VII had Cetra, but this is Citra. And that could also be a country name, and that comes from city raised. So you get what I mean, folks. That's kind of what we're going with here. And if we have more suggestions today, or we think of something together, that'd be great, because then we'll have enough to potentially put up for a poll. Exciting times. Sounds like a big project, LOL. You're going to be years in development. Yeah, you'll commit your life to it like me. Solarus Games would probably be the best tool for that. I'm under a very tight schedule. He wants it made by Christmas. Oh my goodness, when you get a deadline, that makes it worse, because you kind of feel the pressure and then you rush it, and it becomes a rush product and not as crafted as you want it to be. So that's I would personally hate that, but some people are different. Some people like working on deadlines, but it's not the same name because there is a letter I in it. True, so that's what I mean. It's just Val Spa, and if you ask me, Ivan, I think Valley Spa is a lot prettier than Val Spa. The I adds a lot to it. So but I wanted to give the thought of it without the R if we wanted to see it as an alternative spelling. But this is why polls are going to be good, because we're going to see truly what comes out on top as everyone's favourites. So I think we'll underline Valley Spa and this version as well. Maybe that one. There was that one, Farco, I don't even know how to say it, Farcoa, which come from the far coast, which I had a mess around. That was the one that probably sounded the best out of a few of the ones I had a go with. But this one has a lot of F's. And if we end up going with one of the F1s for this country, I'd be inclined to not go for an F1 for this, because I don't want two countries to begin with the same letter. This was an interesting one. The Uprising for Justice, I took the up bit and took the tick but change the E to an A because I think that sounds more like a country. It almost sounds like utopia. It almost looks like utopia, which is interesting because the whole art haven, land of the free, it kind of gives a sort of double meaning with utopia, with the upticker as well. So that was an interesting one, but some of these could work, but like, yeah, it's an F1. Let me know, chat, which ones you're particularly drawn to as well, because it's good to have other pairs of eyes. Like, you could come up with variations as well of some of these. We haven't even done the Art Haven one yet. Let's try like art have totally sounds terrible, but you possible. We don't want it to make it seem like it's too close to the original phrase it came from, but as long as when people realise, they're like, yeah, I can see why it's called that now. We could also throw in a vowel shift, like from V to W. Yeah, and that works. Like, we can experiment like that if we want to, because things like that happen. New people move there and they say words and pronounce them differently. So having letter changes and vowel changes and vowel shifts and all that is a realistic thing that could happen. But overall, I think for this one in particular, the Valley Spar, I think the V, it flows nicely, that word, and it gives it's a strong word as well. It evokes strength and it also sounds quite magical, in my opinion. I don't know about you guys, but there's something strong and magical about that sound, and that connects with this country quite well, I think, because it's quite it's definitely a mysterious and epic country. It's a faraway country. It's our most faraway country too. Like, we start the game in Everbloom, and this is like the other opposite sides of the world from where we start. But then we started with Spa Valley, and then it was like Valley Spa sounds nicer. Just the switch of words around. I'm still making my mind up about some of them, because I'm not even sure if I like some of the words or love them, or I'm being indecisive. This is not a paint company, so sure, yeah, that's true. Usually you only get sued when it's in the same industry, don't you? That would be a consonant shift for A from O. Oh yeah. Hey, yeah, see, what Met suggested, I think that makes it sound prettier and like more of a country. So if we can do that, that'd be cool. Because it doesn't hurt to add an extra letter, do a vowel shift or a consonant shift to just give it a bit more elegance and flow, and just to make the country name look and sound more appealing and less boring. So yeah, we could totally think of more phrases today if we want, but what we have here is we have a choice here out of a few. It's not like we've got nothing, and maybe we should make what should we do for this poll? Because I definitely want to get the poll up today. Maybe halfway into the stream, so we got plenty of time to get votes in. But then I'd let you guys vote throughout the weekend. So for this one, we've got the Valley Spa. We've got another choice with that one. If we have a third, that's fine too. I think a poll with two, 3 or 4 to choose from for each of the countries will be cool. I'd probably cut that one out because it begins with F and this one has a few F1s in, and if we end up with that as the winner, I wouldn't want this one to win that one, because then I'm a bit of a neat freak like that. I don't want 2 countries to begin with the same letter. I want them all to be different. Morning, Rose. Hope you're well. I'm looking. Hi, Zexon. It's wonderful to see you. I hope you've been well, my friend. Hope you've been doing good recently. Thank you for the luck. I think that Valley Spa is the one that we should go with. Van thinks we shouldn't even do a poll. But, I mean, the poll thing is something that's cool to do because it's always good to get other opinions on words. To get that sort of validation that one's the best, because if it was truly the best, it'll end up with the most votes in the poll anyway. But the poll thing it depends how the stream goes. I'm leaving it open to see what we end up with, and if we get confused and don't know which one's our favourite. So let me know, folks, as we look through these today and we discuss these country names, if there's any that you are particularly drawn to, please say, because we're more likely gonna have that as the official country name, or put it on as one of the ones that go on the poll. So Van saying that they like Valley Spa, for example, it's making me be like, yeah, we'll go for that, you know what I mean? So, and same with these ones. If any of you are drawn to any in particular here, let me know too. I underlined this one because I liked the Utopia, the way it sounds a bit like Utopia, but also works from the Uprising for Justice word mash, so it gives it that double meaning. And this place is a utopia. Well, it used to be anyway. But this one could work now. Met's giving us an interesting, more elegant sounding word here. And there's always one of the F ones if we want to go with the free or the follower of dreams words for that. Or there might be another one altogether. I mean, the Great Mines was one description, but I'm not sure whether the mines gets to the heart of this place and this country like the other phrases do. I think all like these ones, the Art Haven, Creates Haven, all that, it really connects well with summing up this country. Now this one's a bit of a one we haven't worked on much, but I think it totally makes sense to have the tower or the cold be something that we go with for this country name. Again, this I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with some of these names, but I'm wondering if we could do something further with them, or if there's another letter or vowel shift or whatever we could do, or some of the ones beginning with T. We didn't. Let's try the B one. We don't have a country name beginning with B yet, do we? So And this one's interesting. I mean, there's the simple Elgar, that's very easy to say. Could totally work, totally could make sense for a place like this, the first country of the game that we're in. But also, to be honest, all of these are not bad at all. It's all about what everyone prefers, you know. I could underline them all. I mean, these two are pretty much the same, the ones beginning with you. And we did like having it be named after Yorosar, this country. We did like the idea of that. I guess it depends. Do we want to go for being named after Yorosar, a specific elf, elves in general, or the actual naming after the tree itself? Maybe words that describe dragons, fire, claws, strength, flames, wings and wind. Interesting. Where are we? This is the one with the monument of the living sleeping dragon. Good that you point that out, because it slipped my mind that this is the monument landmark here. And that could totally work for this area too. I mean, it depends how much we want to make the dragon a focus of the place. I mean, I'm assuming it's got great history and a lot of meaning in this zone. I guess it's what's most important, the dragon or the fact that this was an art haven. Because we have two monuments here, don't we? We had the dragon. Oh! How could we forget? Because we have the desert, obviously, the area where the, let's get the map up. The area where the south of this southwest country is like the desert, the jungle, savanna. I'd assume that the dragon goes around this area mainly, because that's where the Drow sort of were heavily populated. Whereas the safe haven was here. So more of the north part of the country. So we've got two monuments in this country, which makes sense because some countries are going to have two monuments in because there's 6 legends. So 4 countries, 6 legends. There's going to be 2 in some. The Tower of Light is in this one, as we know. The only one that we hadn't done was the Walker's Monument. And they're also going to be in the same country as the Everbloom Forest, the Lakefall tree, but obviously theirs is going to be based in the Highlands. I can't believe I forgot to put the safe haven there. So yeah, because of that, it's more like, you know, I mean, we could totally base the country name the dragon. We don't have to name it on the safe haven. Both of them are as important as each other. And it's whatever sounds the best when we come up with them, I guess. Because we've done that, we also have to put here the Walker Monument and put question marks. We don't actually know what the Walker Monument is yet. In the farm, well, we'll put near the capital because that's where that one's based. Because what we do know about the Walker legend is that they were the one that inspired change within the government. From when we had our government Worldbuilding districts, they're the one that inspired the change to the meritocracy, where whoever's king has to be good at art. So of course their monument would be there. So who knows what that monument's going to be. It'd be great if it could connect with that legend as good as possible. Hi Chub Cheeks, how you doing? So good to see you. How are things going? So, I think that the ones with Yorosar would be hilarious, considering that goes against Yorosar's policy. Yeah, so for sure, we should keep that in mind. We could even try a few variations of that and see how Yorosar's something, like Eurosar's blank sounds, if you know what I mean. We've already got garden and backyard. And then we could always, you know, go with the one that we feel really sounds the nicest. So Eurosar's blank. So garden, backyard, Eurosar's. I was going to say haven, but it's probably better not to overuse that word. We've already got a haven for the art haven. Invert the words, ordering, you are done. Hi Chub Cheeks, how you been? Hi Joel, how are you doing today? It's good to see you. Hope you're well. Things are going okay. Yeah, things are going all right here too. I had a bit of trouble at starting the stream, but I think it's all good now. It's been nice to me today, which is a relief, because I thought I had a worry that I'd have to cancel stream today when I saw that it kept buffering. But it's fine now. Or we could go with something like sun and sunset with Eurosar. Eurosar's sun, Eurosar's, how would that sound? Forest, oh yeah, forest is another. That sounds a bit like Uranus, you know, the planet. For some reason it makes me think of that, calling it Eurus. And let's see how forest sounds. Eursafor. But I mean, the forest thing could work, but we don't want to like sort of, I mean, maybe once upon a time. Now that's come to mind, because I was about to say we don't want to just think this country's nothing but forest, but now I think about it, once upon a time this whole country could have been all forest. But then when the government, when the empire invaded, before, you know, well before Traitorio, they could have chopped down land, deforestation and all that. And that's why we've got farmland that's replaced it and everything else. So, you know, that could totally be an interesting history if we wanted to think that it totally was all forest. And that's what's given me that thought now. Van saying forest has made me think, well, yeah, that it could have all been forest, because, yeah. Things that go in nature. You've got the map up rather than the notes. Yeah, let's get the map off. There we go. That's better. Hi Vagabond, how you doing? It's good to see you. Country naming today, indeed. We're naming. We are doing a country naming stream, so we're sort of doing a technique where we think of short descriptive phrases to describe the region, and then sort of word mush the phrase together to come up with a really cool sounding country name. Because that's an interesting technique to do. Everybody's got their own techniques, of course. This is one I learnt and is a good way to make it sort of similar to how countries change and evolve over time in real life as well. So yes, country naming, yeah, it's a fun one. It's been on the cards for a while, because all we've been doing when we've had our world building streams is calling it the southeast country, the west country, and it's going to be nice to finally put a name to them. So I've underlined all these ones, but I'm only going to underline the ones that we love, okay folks? So of course, anyone in chat, if there's any that you like the sound of or you prefer, say, because then I'll underline it. Van said the ones that I've underlined, the ones I personally think work, and any that chat say I'll underline as well. But there could be even more here. We've only got a few bullet points for each at the moment, and that doesn't mean that's all we gotta have. We can always broaden our choice here, but we're trying to stay as close as possible to sort of vibe and theme of this and the feel of this country when coming up with the phrases. The southeast country is all about the nature, very picturesque, very scenic. So naturally we're coming up with nature sounding phrases, and we're sort of making it have meaning with the elves as well. Yorosar is the most famous elf. So you need a cool country name like Chubtopia. It's a paradise, lol. Yeah, funnily enough, that's why I underlined this one, because it sounds a bit like Utopia, but it isn't. And this place used to be a utopia once upon a time. The Yora's quiet. Quiet's an interesting one, because peaceful, right? Let's get that down. I'm going to look at for similar words as well for that now. Define. Yora's rest, Yora's but it's an interesting one, having a Q in the country name. It wouldn't have been one that I would have naturally have imagined, but it does add a sort of unique letter to the country name, which is interesting. So how is that pronounced? Because whenever I read that now, I'm thinking it sounds a bit like Uruguay, which is actually a country on planet Earth, isn't it? But you might not pronounce it completely different to me. Yeah, Uruguay, which is spelled like this, funnily enough. Which might be the only downfall of going for that, because it sounds too similar to an actual country on our planet. But if there's another pronunciation, I don't know. How's the map making going? You still using that tiling program? I am indeed, Vagabond. I am indeed. I'm using tiled still. And I recently actually was putting in the new tile set, redoing all the collisions for that in tiled over the last weekend, because now we've got slightly different environment art. I've had to redo all those collisions. You're quite respectful for your side, but you know he still hate it. You're Rakwi, I think, yeah. So that's the thing, I'm terrible at pronouncing things, so I'm inclined to want to go for something that's easy to say. I don't want to be like, oh, I can't even say my own country. But yeah, it's worth adding there. But we got a few, we can always think of more. Right. A few more. I do like it beginning with you though. That's something I'm a fan of for sure. But I'm not 100% sure of the endings of each of them just yet. I mean, maybe I'll warm to some of them. Yeah, I'm not even sure that one works at all. You're a rest, I was wondering, but it sounds doesn't sound elegant or cute, nice enough. But yeah, I think it's worth thinking of more blanks for that one. I'm colouring them in so that we can, so it's just easier for me to remember what country we're on. I've coloured this one green because of links to nature and stuff. Blue because it's cold. And I just did these different colours. Other words for serenity and peace might work, all related to quiet. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because it is, I think it's a great meaning, the quiet and peace for this area. Especially back in the day before the government took over and stole the land. It was probably a very peaceful place once. We'll put those in. Oops, can't spell things wrong. Can I just say, Rose, your document organisation and presentation is phenomenal. Thanks, Chubb. It's always a challenge, but you know, I try to make it so that anyone coming into stream sort of gets what we're doing and doesn't get confused. I think that's important. So easy on the eyes. I appreciate the kind words, Chubb. That's very awesome of you to say. So I'm just looking for similar words, because yeah, I think the Uruguay one, I think if it wasn't for Uruguay, I might like it more. You're a stillness. Oh yeah, stillness, that's a good one. Yeah, I've got the brain blanks at the moment. I'm struggling to find similar words to peace and quiet. So if anyone comes up with any, feel free to say, because it might help us come up with some good word mushes from these. Housing point tile maps into RM work again. Does it affect performance much? I'm looking for new RM tools. Well, so far for me, the tile's has been absolutely fine and no different to how it was when using RPG Maker Editor. It's better than parallax mapping, I know that. It improved the performance from parallax mapping, because that tended to slide things down, which isn't a surprise. But feel free, yeah, I'd say give it a go, see what you think. It's certainly the best mapping tool for RPG Maker that I've found, because I was never that very fond of the actual RPG Maker Editor. I find it too limiting, and parallax mapping was too stressful for me, because I always like to update the art over time, and you're kind of stuck with it with parallax mapping. With tile sets it's great because it changes straight away. Hi Rex, how you doing? It's good to see you. Are all these place names or potential names for a single place? What these are, Chubb and anyone else coming in to lurk and hang out. We're specifically naming the countries today. If I get up the map just to show those of you that are just coming in. We have had this map for a long time. Of the world, a very rough map of the world, a bunch of different environments and biomes, and we ended up really happy with it. It seems like it fits with our 6-episode structure quite well when we did a rough plan. And I've just separated them. They were all in one continent before, and they still are all one continent, but just to show you what countries which I just like pulled them apart so you could see. And we've got 4 different corners of the world on this continent, and they're all different countries at each of the 4 now. So that's what's in the dock. We've got the 4 countries, and obviously Everbloom Forest is one of them, and that's this one, the southeast country, and we've got the farmlands nearby. Let me get rid of the map so you can actually see, and I'll put the pictures there so you can get, so you can see a bit of visual stuff with this. So that's all. This place is very scenic, very nature focused. The government and monarchy are also based here, so it's the land that's under rule, this one is. And so we're trying to come up with names that are very inspired by nature, and particularly the elves, because they were the people that lived here first, and have for the longest time. And Yorasar is the elven legend in the pantheon, so that's kind of why we're putting a lot of focus on him. And he's also the one whose face is in the tree of Lakefall. So he's a significant person here. So it seems like if we're going to go down that route, we're going to take the UR for his name as the beginning of the country name, and then the end bit will be the word that comes after, because we're sort of playing word mash here. We're coming up with short phrases that are descriptive of the area, that either describe the region itself or the history and beliefs of the country, and then we take the first half of the word or something in the word and then mush it together, because that's what happens with countries in real life, like bolt off stone. Bolt off stone is now Boston, folks. That's gonna be my stream motto now, because I keep mentioning that. It's the only example I've got that I remember. Anyway, let's catch up with chat, because I see a few of you said stuff, and Van's give some suggestions, so I'm going to get them in as well. Yeah, the Elven Nation, basically. And we know that the Drow eventually populated this place, and then the humans, Everbloom Forest in particular. But the elves were the ones that lived there years and years ago, thousands of years ago. The Drow have only populated the last 100 years. And then the humans in the last 10 or so years. So they're the ones that were here long ago, before even the government existed, when it was a land of harmony and peace, when it wasn't under any rule or war. Yeah, it's really, when naming countries, you want to get to the far history as much as you can, because that's kind of why it's the country name it is today, and that's what happens to it. It starts as, say, your backyard as an example, and then it becomes that, because over time people start to want to say the country name as easy as possible, and they start to remove words that they can't pronounce, and it becomes a country name. So and then same for this one. This is another country. This is the cold country just north of this one, and this is where the mountains and the snow region is, and this is where the furry race is sort of populated for a long time, which works well because their fur coats would have suited the snow. It's also where a Tower of Light is, the famous landmark of one of the legends. And we're coming up with names from the Tower of Light for that one. And then we've got this one. We've got a few more for this one. We're sort of going through them all a bit at a time. And I think we did like Valispar for this one. So we might go for that one. But this is the one where the Cloud City is. And we love it. Valiant Spark was the phrase that we were drawn to, because it sort of represents the Fae, the fairy people that lived here, because they're very energetic and free-spirited, and the Valiant Spark, Valispar, comes from that. So yes, we kind of like that one, and we're trying to come up with the ones we like as much for the other ones too. So I'm going to just see what you guys are throwing out. Right now we're looking at the Elven Nation, trying to raise on the hero, because he's the kind of type that would have hated having a nation. Yeah, that's the thing, he's quite a humble guy. We started developing these legends when we had our Pantheon stream, and Yorasar, the Elven one, who the Tree of Lightfall is based on. It's his monument, it's his face in the tree. He's just a humble herbalist and healer who lived in the forest many centuries, many thousands of years ago. And he didn't really have any, like, yeah, it's kind of ironic in a way that now he has a country named after him and a monument and a day of the week, because each legend is named after a day of the week. Your day is Yorasar's day, and it also means it's your day. It's a day of rest for you. So that's a good pun. So Yora's origin, let's get that in. That's a good one. I like the origin. Because yeah, it's where he lived. But are we going to get a good country name from it? That's the question. Sometimes it's a big old mess when you try and make a country name. But sometimes you can do things like this, like Yori is a real tongue twister. And it's like, whoa, okay. But you can do something like that. All that, and it can actually sound quite elegant, maybe. Yorori. Yorori. What do you reckon, Bikes? I mean, we can have both. But today it's all about, you know, throwing out some suggestions, as however silly they are. Like, because some of these words might be a bit too. We're not 100% sure yet. We try and come up with more till we get set on the country name we like. And it's all going to be about feedback from chat, you guys letting me know which one you like, as well as suggesting more potentially. I mean, you can also do things like like, that looks a bit like Virgin, which I don't know about, you know, so your origin. So sometimes you have to make sure that whatever connotations you have or what else it sounds like the Uruguay one was an interesting one, but it reminds me something like Uruguay, so, you know, things like that would make it a bit of a but sometimes, yeah, it can work out. And your origin, Chubb says your origin, as I said, it sounds like Virgin, yeah. You're a Hori, you're Ori. So yeah, like, that's, I've took the Ori bit and put the your, because I think that's a simplified version, getting rid of the R bit. Because once upon a time, I mean, don't get me wrong, this is how it tends to work from the educational videos I've watched. it becomes something like that eventually. Like, say it was Yora's origin 10,000 years ago, that was what it was called. Then 5,000 years ago, it was Yora Ore. And then 100 years ago, it becomes Yora. You know, like, over time, it gets simplified as new cultures come and new people live there. So, yeah, for sure, it totally would have been that once upon a time. And maybe even the documents and books around the world where the country is called that when it was that time period of time. I can't think of a real life example right off the top of my head of a country that happened to, but I know that Hello Future Me on YouTube, I'm going to just double check that that's his name. Hello Future Me, yeah, that's correct. Hello Future Me does a lot of world building YouTube videos, which are really, really cool. And that was who I learned that from. That it just becomes something else over the many centuries and hundreds of years. Yora, maybe just the country name Yora, and that's another thing. If we even want to simplify it further, that's possible too, or even with the R at the end, whatever is most aesthetically pleasing to us, I guess. Because yeah, it could be that we just go for it being called that, right? I think it makes sense to me that the starting area of the game, which is this country, this is the first country we're in, that it's the most accessible sounding and least mysterious sounding, the most boring, not most boring, because I don't want us to have any boring country names, they'll all be awesome, but you know what I mean, having the mysterious ones make more sense as the game progresses and we go further end game. So yeah, we could totally do something like that where it was Yora's origin once upon a time, then it became Yora Horror, you could say it at all, and then it became that, and then it became that, like, as a timeline 10,000 years ago. Today. Yeah, that's made it messy now, but just testing to see if that was a thing that, yeah, okay. So let me know what you think, folks. That's something we could go for, and if we don't have any more solid ideas, then we might just go for that. Yora's aura, your aura, your aura, your Uranus. The Yora one definitely is risk at being like Uranus, sorry. It's definitely Uranus, how that planet's pronounced, not Uranus. This legend is rolling in his grave. Sounds like you're saying you're does it? That's funny. Oh my goodness, yeah. There can always be these problems when you name things that it ends up being something it shouldn't sound like. I like the names, yay. Okay, so we'll go back to this one. I'll just underline this one. I think so far the just plain old Yora is my favourite of all the ones on this page for this one. The Algar one was okay, but we wanted to go specific with Yora specifically, not just Als in general. So out of all the ones beginning with U, probably just plain old Yora. And, you know, once upon a time it could have been one of the others, like we say, but it's sort of evolved into this in the present day. Good solid name. Well, if Jim was the name of the legend, then yeah, it probably would have been called Jim Chubb. I think you also would rather Jim as the country name. Yeah, he probably would have, like, because we're planning to have lots of lore and like scattered around the game, like scriptures and books and stuff, and it's all optional reading. That kind of thing is for people who are world build geeks and want to find out the secrets and Easter eggs of Raindrop Chronicles. All of things like that scattered about, and your Sar will probably tell his story and that. And I know Van's very keen on being part of that too, like the book Worldbuilding, and we've got to get into the head of these legends, and it'll be even more powerful if we make it link in with the themes of the game stories as well, so it has relevance, of course, which it will. You're elf. You're elf. You're an elf, Harry. You're as elves. That's funny. Yeah, that might be, although it's funny, it might be a little bit too in your face. Too subtle as a brick. Okay, so now on to the next one. But still, if you want to talk about this one, still feel free to, and I can always pop another one in. I would be laughing and point their friends if they were alive to see that as a name, yeah. Okay, so the one we've talked about the least is this northeast country region. We definitely seem to be going with the Tower of Light as a name for this country. I mean, how many years ago was the Tower of Light built now, without looking at the Lore Bible? Was it that about 5,000 years ago? It was the age of the stars, wasn't it? Which was after, which was well before civilization started forming. So it was still ancient history. So I think it's totally fun to name the country after the Tower of Light. I think anything that's, you know, well before modern man started forming, like as in the tribes and that, naming the country after that is great. So what's everyone's favourite on this list, or is there any new ones folks can think of? I mean, we got Finger of Light, Light Finger, Tower of Light. I don't know about the Empty Lake one now, because that one feels like it doesn't connect as much to the Tower of Light. I get that it was from the Salt Flats region, which is cool, but maybe specifically focusing on the Tower of Light, being as that's the most famous landmark there. So we've got some similar words: finger of light, beam of light. I have a feeling it's going to end in lig, because lig for light, and adding the H tends to make it look a bit silly. I mean, we can also always do that where we get rid of the G. I mean, it's a silent letter, the G is, so if we wanted to remove that for simplicity, it might make sense. It all depends if we like the G or not. Some of us might like it there. It might add a bit of character to the country name for all we know. But yeah, I'm intrigued what chat thinks. Can you give a brief explanation for what the Tower of Light looks like? Sure, let's go a bit into the backstory. Right, so as I mentioned, the Pantheon, there's 6 legends in the world. If anyone's really interested and missed those streams, because there was some really cool world building that happened in those streams, feel free to go on the YouTube, look through the most recent videos, and you'll find the Pantheon streams. There was a double 2 streams in a row we had on the Pantheon, and that's when we came up with the legends. So this one legend is an elven vampire, and he built this Tower of Light for a purpose. There's a real backstory behind this Tower of Light, and it's quite complicated, but it links in with vampirism in the game. It links in with finding the cure for vampirism but failing, and it also links with some further backstory with the moon as well. It's quite long, but if you watch the world building streams, if you're super curious, it will all be there. But in the near future, I am intending to put some Lore Bible world building articles in more detail for those. We do have, I mean, if you do look on the Lore Bible at the creation of the world from the beginning, there's a bit of brief info, but there isn't like a full-on article about this Tower of Light just yet. But it's literally a tower that gives the light source to the world at night, because the moon doesn't there's no such thing as moonlight in this world. The moon is dim, so the Tower of Light does that job. But the moonlight going and disappearing sort of started the vampire curse in this world as well. And he built this Tower of Light in attempt to find a cure, to be cured. But it also helped the people in general of the world anyway, because it gave them light. But of course it was built on the biggest, highest point in the world, which is the mountains region, because it needed to be built on the highest point so it could spread to everybody, this beam of light all over the continent. So it's built on that mountain here. So obviously in the game at some point when we go to the mountains, which is episode 3 in our timeline, we will see that tower. We'll be able to see it. We'll climb the mountain, go to tower. There might be some quests there and some revelations to discover. But obviously it's magical because it needs to be, because how would the light spread so effectively to the whole world? But yeah, there's definitely a magical influence for that in that tower, and the elf that built it would have probably been quite good at that, to make that possible. But it probably took him years of his life to make such a thing a reality. Yeah, that's correct, Van. His name is Lusar, and the Lu is inspired by luminosity in the word light. And there's a day of the week called Lu Day because of it. So if we go with how people in the area felt about having the tower created and how it saved them, yeah, because life would have been probably pretty harsh back in the day before light existed. I mean, most of those people are probably dead by now, but there's definitely going to be their ancestors would have experienced it, and it'd be in the history books, and there could be some plot points and side quests with the tower. Imagine if it broke or something. That would be a bit of that would definitely be a cat quest, or there's that's just one idea, but there's a lot of potential with it. So, and mountain save and moose. Oh, let's get some of these in a sec. But as you can see, folks, it's all about, this region is famously known for its Tower of Light, and it's also pretty cold, pretty barren. The beast furry races sort of had the power here for a long time, and yes, very cold, very massive, a bit like Skyrim basically. So that's kind of the feel and vibe of this place. Right, so let's get a few more in. So maybe go with Saviour, Mountain Saviour. Or Saviour of the Mountain, is if we want to turn some words around, that can be cool to do as well. Let's see what we come up with. Musav. Savmu. Samo. There we go. So we've got a couple more. And I like making these different colours. It separates them a bit better from the words that become as well. So, any more? I mean, we could always push this further unless someone's kind of a fan of any, feel free to say. Can always remove some letters if we want to simplify them. If the place lights up the night, it could be something like deliverer from darkness. Just throwing ideas once again. Yeah, and also we could always put moon in as well, because it was sort of the moon is the one that lost its light, so there could always be a phrase that has that in too if we wanted. But I do think the light thing is a key adjective for this one as well, so I'm inclined to go for one that has the word light in it, but not necessarily. It's all whatever sounds best in the long run. If Lou is included, Le Savio. Oh, okay. So we can also, do that. I mean, we don't have to copy the whole Eurosar thing where we name it after the legend. We can if we want. But like we said last stream, we don't have to go with the whole ruler theme for every country because every country is different, but we'll keep it in mind. How long did it take you to get fast at typing? Hi Cobra, I've been typing fast since I was about 10. When I was at school, I was the fastest typer in class, and my teacher at the time in IT lesson was looking at me in complete shock when he saw me typing compared to the other children. It's because I had a computer super young, from 1995 or 1994, 1995 I got my computer, and I was on it every day because I'm a nerd. I used to build websites when I was a kid, when I was about 6. Angel Fire and GeoCities. Remember those websites, folks? So I just was like, the time on my computer just made me naturally fast typer. But now everybody else is fast as well, because everyone else uses the computer a lot too. Interesting one, Lou's Moon. Oh, that's a good way to see it, because it has become Lou's Moon, hasn't it? When you think about it, because the tower has replaced the moon. And it sounds like it would have been a country name. Like, I think an important thing for us to realise as well with these phrases is they kind of have to sound like a country name in themselves back in the day, like something someone would have written on the map. And the good thing is about something like Yora's origin, if I underline that one, that sounds like something that would have been on a map 1,000 or so, 10,000 years ago, right? And Lou's Moon sounds like it could have been on the map as well. I mean, some of them are great that you guys have come up with, and some of the ones I've come up with as well, like Finger of Light, Tower of Light. They're all cool, but they're describing the actual landmark just purely, aren't they? Not so much the country as a whole. And some of them, I mean, I do like the Uprising for Justice one. It sounds more like a description, like an event than an actual place. But yeah, because I think it does make more sense if we think, yeah, that would be on the map once upon a time. I don't know if Uprising for Justice would be on the map back in the day. Maybe. Same with Follower of Dreams. That's like a description for the people, isn't it? Now I think that was something that's just come to mind, really, that it works even better if it was on the map once. So just something to think about. Okay, so let's get some in. So this thing replaces the job of the moon. Yeah, I think that's why it's kind of cool, because it's a good way to sum that up. It could have been, oh, I've spelt it wrong. It could have been Blue Moon once, because, you know, because what happens is many years later they think, yeah, let's remove the apostrophe and S and make it more accessible and easy to say, so then it becomes Blue Moon. But then new people move there many hundreds of years later, and they get rid of one of the O's because it becomes further simplified. So that's believable too, that it could have become that. Now let's see what chat said. New Moon, New Mon. Yeah, New Moon's another one. If we want to not have it be so key on Lou himself, we can describe it as being more of a thing, a place. Because, yeah, as I was saying earlier, I mean, it's fine if we want to name it after the legend. I'm fine with going down that route if we choose to, like we did for Yora. But we don't necessarily have to limit ourselves to just calling it Nimai. I've just realised that it's Nimai. But it doesn't have to be, but that's funny. I just put that down. I was like, oh my god, it's Nimai. Lol. Okay, so Newman, it's auto-corrected, how silly. And then Nimai, New Moon, yeah, or New Moon as well. Why is it auto-correcting? So there's a few ideas there as well. So yeah, feel free to give your thoughts, folks. If there's any that you like, think, yeah, I like the sound of that one, feel free to say, or you like the meaning behind it and it's more believable to you as what it would have been back in the day. I'm inclined to feel more drawn to the Lose Moon and New Moon out of all of them. I think either of them would have made sense as being on the map. The same as Yora's origin would have been. Now back to the next country. Anyway, let's catch it. I'm going to catch up with chat first before going ahead, because I see that you've said some things, folks. Now, and actually though, if I really think about it, Lose Moon should be the name for the Tower of Light. I think Lose Moon should be the landmark's name, and the area around Lose Moon would be protected by Lose Moon. So, Prola Moon. If I say I can't even say the simplest of words today. I can't. Okay, so the area around Lose Moon would be protected by Lose Moon. So protected Lose Moon. It's interesting. Maybe Lie Moon weren't just a big type on the map that's stuck. LOL, yeah. So what do you reckon? Because that is a point of answers. I mean, it does work as the actual landmark's name, but it could be both, like. But we'll think about it, because we could always, thinking of that in mind, we could go for something else for the country name. But thinking of that as inspiration for it. Fabricating Moon Fabrimon. That sounds like a Pokemon. Alright, so, I mean, protected by Lose Moon. Is it a bit of a tongue twister? What do you reckon? I guess it depends, like, I'm imagining that they could have put that on the map, but maybe they would have wanted to sort of have it be more of a country sounding name, right? Like when they want to deliver letters, for example, or mail, they'd have be like, bring it to protected by Lose Moon. You know, I don't know if it has a sort of, if it's simple enough to be a summed up phrase for an area, but thank you, Cobra, for the follow. I appreciate it. No, all other words relating to protect is sustained, maybe. Trying to think of other alternatives that sound a bit more simplified, like Moon's protection. Similar to kind of how we've gone with Yora's origin, like we have the word, the personal, the thing, and then we have another word after. And something like that could become moo, moo, cow. Will we get in there, maybe? Did the moon have a name, or was it just the moon? Just the moon. The moon and the sun are normal, just like the objects we have orbiting us on planet Earth. In fact, let me just get see if I can get the Law Bible link up. Oh no, not that one. World Anvil. There's a particular article that you might be interested in, folks. If you do want a bit more background detail, we do actually have this. It's the history of the world timeline, and it briefly mentions the sun and the moon and how it all came to be in that, and how it all fell, and what the world is now in the present day. Shield from night. Interesting. Light of night. Shield is fine, but I'm wondering if we could get more to the heart of I'm not even sure if Moon's protection, that could have other, that could be confusing now I think of it. Because it makes it sound like it's the actual moon and not the tower. But yeah, it's a difficult one because I think it's important to keep simple with these phrases and not get too wordy, because people back in the day, if we want to think of in the old ages, they still would have wanted people in and out the country to be able to describe their country easily. They won't want anything too wordy because it's a bit of a confusing to. So something that's like, yeah, disc of light or disc of light. Yeah, I mean, we're going with the beam of light and finger of light thing here, but more similar words is great because we could get even better sounding countries if we experiment. But yeah, I get the lose moon and new moon thing. I was kind of sold on it at first, but now you've mentioned that it's could be the name of the actual tower, the landmark itself. That would mean we wouldn't want it to be the name of the country. But thinking about it, if this is the source of light, this is where the Tower of Light is, there would probably be more light here than anywhere else in the world, right? Because it's the heart of it, the heart of the light. So considering that disc, I suppose, a disc shape, would it be a disc shape, the tower? I'm trying to think of, imagine it in my head now, what the tower, the light, what it would look like as it comes from the tower. And how the spread looks as well, where it reaches, how it looks when it reaches the other countries. Having that sort of visual thing in mind can help, for sure, to help you be consistent with your naming, with how it realistically is and looks. It would be like a beacon. Well, the moon can look like a disc in the sky, yeah. So, I mean, we could get a rough paint thing up just for funsies. And just roughly just draw this. It's going to be terrible though, folks. So, this is the tower. The light. So I need a reference image for this, so I'm actually going to get Google up at the same time. And let's just imagine this is the huge continent. This is on the peak of the mountain here. This is the mountains. It looks terrible. This is the worst drawing ever, but I can't draw in paint. So I imagine there'd be a beam or something, and it would rotate. But that wouldn't be very good if it rotated, right? Because that would leave other regions just in absolute blackness until it rotates and reaches them again, and it would be an inconsistency of light. So yeah, a beam that rotates isn't what Lusar would have designed. He'd want everybody to get an even spread of light. So in a way, I thought finger of light and or beam at first, but now I'm thinking about it, he'd want everyone to get it without there being a minute in the day where no one gets light. So it would be a disc that would probably cover the whole continent. And maybe it's stronger where the mountains is, like the closer you are to the tower, you get the real strong light there, but it sort of still reaches the others, just enough. So what do you reckon, folks? Now we've thought that. Now I can visualise it a bit better now that I've done that. Like a light, yeah. See, that's sort of was my first thought for it, and I actually imagined it being a finger that rotates. But yeah, there would be an inconsistency Like that would mean the people in Everbloom Forest at night would only see the finger 1 hour in the night as it rotates, unless there was multiple fingers, of course. Then that's another thought, and now everybody gets it then if there's multiple fingers. So whatever like sort of thing we go for, we want to describe the shape of it properly, right? So that the place name is actually realistic with what it is and what it does. So maybe it's like half circle or circle at the top or round sphere. And name of the person who built this was so Lusa, yeah. Lu is his first name and Sar is his elven, because they have like a sort of 2-letter word, Sar for elves, Kar for the walker and kicker, and you know, only the ancient people are the ending with that, Lusa, Yorsa, Haladar for a fae. But people of the modern day just have normal names. It's a way to make them sound a bit more exotic from how they are now. Lusa's gift. Yeah, that's an interesting one too. If we want to name it after Lusa, that is. I mean, it all depends. We totally can. I'm not against naming this country after Lusa. Just wondering if we'd get too repetitive if we was to also call the tower itself Lu's Moon. So it's also nice to have place names be a bit different from each other as well. Let's see what that one was. The D. Or circle of light, even if we're going for the disc shape. We're getting a few for this one now. Gift of light, that's a cool one as well, and that's another sort of way, like we're not describing a shape there, we're sort of saying it was a gift to the people, which it was, so that's interesting. The GIF, it's named after the image animation. Okay, Gillig even. Something sounds more right about having it end with a G if it starts with a G. I like that it's symmetrical, funnily enough. That could work. It sounds quite strong, like, and mysterious, and like a mountainous area, actually. Gillig. Mount Gillig. Nice. Well, you would say that elves named the countries after their elves, but the other nations didn't. If you want to keep like a style of elves version in the other countries as far as naming goes, yeah. I think it's probably better to keep consistent so that the outsiders and insiders all call the country the same thing, just to prevent confusion. And usually people stick with what it is, like what it is on the map, it becomes, I guess, so that mail doesn't get sent to the wrong place. But yeah. There's an actual word for that, like when it comes to naming, but I forgot it when it comes to the people who live there and the people who are living outside the country with naming the country. But Yeah, and I don't know if we need to use like we could use shine, glow, lit, luster, radiant, brilliant, luminous. Yeah, we could do. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's all about we want a word that sounds like a cool name for the country. Ultimately, don't we? That's what it's going to come down to, actually having a cool sounding country name. I don't mind the Gillig. In fact, Gillig is probably out of all ones on this list, the best, the one I like most. For this place, because we don't have any country names beginning with G either. Valispar begins with a V, Eurus begins with a U, and this southwest country, we didn't have our heart set on it just yet, but obviously there's no G ones here. But we could, I mean, there could be others. I think I kind of like how that's symmetrical. If we used Gift of Illumination, it could be Gillam, thinking that. That's another one as well, Illumination, because we don't want to, even though I says that one's alright, there could be even cooler ones, so it's certainly worth broadening our vocabulary. So we'll see what we end up with. So Gift of Illumination, Gift of Radiance, Gift of, yeah, I guess it's imagining any other words that I'm trying to picture it on the map in the olden days as well, the words. So something that's similar to light without it sounding completely off. Gillam. Yeah, because it would have took the GI and the lum from that. Or even, yeah, all of that. I like Gillam with the 1L, I think. But, Gift of Radiance, what would that look like? Girad, that could work as well. I think the one beginning with the G could work for this one if we wanted to go for Gift of Summer that's light. Because there's something quite strong about the letter G that I think could fit with this place. Shining, gleaming, glow, fluorescence, gift of glow, gift of gleaming, gift of, let me just see what they look like if we stuck that after the GI. Genshin Impact, that one, Gishin. I think the light one, if you ask me folks, I think any of these ones could possibly work, the Gillig, the Gillam or the Girad. And each of them could work because Gift of Light, Gift of Illumination, Gift of Radiance are all suitable descriptive adjectives for what was going on back then. It was a gift of light and for the people. So I've underlined them ones. We could even still stick with the disc or circle of light with the DI beginning if we wanted to let's just say, so silly could be that one. Not ceiling. Idyllic. So I'm just put that there after just taking in these other adjectives that we also thought of that were described the shape of the light with each of those adjectives, because I'm running out of time, so I could have easily just wrote it down properly, but right, so I still probably like the G ones best, funnily enough. So what have we got? So we've got Gillam and Girard for that one, which we haven't got our hearts set on which one we like most just yet. For that one, I think we were pretty into the Valiant Spark. Although it sounds more like an adjective than something they would have named a place like Ray City, it does. Valley Spark does sound nice. I'm trying to think. I suppose Spark of the Valiant would have been on the map. That sounds more like something that would have been on the map, but over time they'd have just switched the words around. It might have started as Spa Valley, but became Valley Spa over time. Because Spa Valley would have annoyed people to have to say. And they'd have just gone Valley Spa. Fly's nicer. So yeah, Spark of the Valiant totally would have been on the map more than Valiant Spark. In memory of Halidar. Right. Garrulous Grex. Well, we know who that is, don't we? You. So Spark of the Valiant, Yora's origin, Gift of Light or Gift of Illumination, Gift of Radiance, whatever one we like best. And this is the only one we haven't done yet. Thank you, Bot, for the follow. I mean, the bits. Lol. Okay, so. This is the only one we haven't really spent time really thinking about. We've got further with this one. I mean, with the others, but not so much this one. I mean, it makes sense to me to name it after that it's all about the freedom and the arts. And I'm trying to imagine what the people of that time would have put on the map. Now, thinking about it, when the Kits lived, when the war happened, that might have been too late. The country name probably would have already been in existence, because the war was recent history, not ancient history. You know what I mean? So maybe you were right, Van, that we should go more the Sleeping Dragon route than the Safe Haven route for this country name. Simply because the dragon history is more ancient than the safe haven history. Like if we look at the lore bubble, I can't remember how many years ago the war was when the safe haven was formed, but it was only like 1,000 years, no less than that. Let's have a look, because I'm too curious now. And you know, it makes more sense to me that the country names would have all happened around the, you know, age of the ancients, or not age of the ancients, sorry, the age of the gods, or the age of the stars would have been when these names came about, like Yora's origin, like Gift of Light, what was the name of the other one? Spark of the Valiant. So the time when the war happened and when the Kit formed the Silent Haven was more the age of the first men, because that's when the Kit came about. So that was too much although it was still thousands of years ago, it was still more recent history than Archaea. So yes, dragons then for this one. So thinking of that, let's think of some descriptions. And I'm going to actually sadly cross out this one. I mean, I think we could have got something okay. I mean, I wasn't in love with any of them. There was potential there with some of the words, but I think it's smarter for us to think further back than the Archaean period of time. So it would feel a bit odd if this country was named. I mean, it could be named last. We could go with an America thing where the country was just more newer. But it isn't now, because, you know, the Drow lived here well out before, and so it isn't now. Maybe something like Dragon's Horde, I mean, or maybe Dreyho, or Dreyhorde, or Dreyhorde, yeah. So that would directly reflect a dragon kind of mindset about the area, yeah. So I think we're on to something. I don't know if I want to be too heavy-handed where it clearly sounds like dragon. I mean, I definitely think the influence could come from dragon, but maybe want to do some vowel shifts or something to disguise it a bit. Just a touch, if you know what I mean. But let's Dragon's Horde. If we do go with that one, let's see what we can come up with. So Van said, oops. An example for this that I thought was pretty cool was, hang on, let me get it up in big letters. I found out about this when I was watching videos on the subject. Why have we got the strike through? I don't want the strike through. There we go. This word here, I think there's something, I don't know if it's a book or a show or a character in some work of fiction, I have no clue. But there's something called Aragon. And all that is the word dragon with the vowel shift to the letter after it. But you wouldn't exactly know it on first glance. And that's what I mean about sometimes, you know, going for something. A simple vowel shift can disguise it quite well. Now, I don't think we can, it's probably not, probably don't want to steal that word for our country because I think it's a famous franchise. I'm not sure, but I think it is. So, but I like that as an example, like how a simple vowel shift can completely disguise the word. But then you realise that, yeah, it comes from dragon, and you're like, whoa, that's pretty cool, actually. But it's not like super obvious on first glance. So, now, It's the name of a dragon in a book. Yeah, my sister loved that book. The guy who wrote it was like 15 or something. Yeah, I know nothing about it. I just saw it used as an example when I was looking at a country world building YouTube video, and someone used that as an example, and I thought, yeah, it's not a country, the character, but they liked the way that it was named because it was inspired by a dragon, but not like totally obviously. So when we start with Dragon's Hoard, I think it's cool, but it's almost impossible to not begin it with draw. Which draw Hoard is alright. I like that we're sort of giving the draw a bit of love and naming a country after them. But I don't know if we should, like, whether we should disguise it further, because it's kind of become something else over time, right? It started as a dragon place, and there's still that sort of history there, but it became an arts place, it's become a criminal urban centre, so it's not giving me heavy dragon connotations so heavily anymore. So it could have been that, if we do want to look at that, but maybe it evolved to something else in the modern day. Maybe it was like that 1,000 years ago, or a few thousand years ago, maybe, but maybe in more recent history it's changed. And if you think about dragon's arrogance, the country might be named after an ancient dragon rather than people. Yeah, that's true. We don't know the names. We haven't even thought of the name of the draw legend yet either, have we? So with that in mind, we could always pause the deciding the name for this particular country until we've further thought of the name of the draw lady legend, if we want to go down that route and name it after her rather than draw as a race itself, or dragons as a legendary species, if we want to consider what she is and then begin it with her name and whore or something. Like, for example, if she's called, think of a random name, folks. Rose is Hoard. Obviously it's not going to be Rose. It's not going to be called that, but that would make sense, I know. And then it would be Ross Hall. But obviously it's not Rose, so it's not going to be that. But then, yeah, it could be named after the person rather than the race, and that could be a little bit better because it's not so heavy-handed with draw then. Because all you can think of then when you get to that country is, oh, this country is going to be about dragons, and that's fine. I'm sure there's going to be dragon thieves for sure, especially further south. But this place is a lot more than that too. The arts the creators have, and is a really cool theme in this area too. So yeah, Cecilia. You might not even name it after her, but one of the other ancient dragons, yeah. Which would mean when we don't know when we're going to name them, that's the thing. And it could be years from now, which means we wouldn't have a country name for this one. But it would still be question mark. We'd still be calling it the Southwest. So, I don't mind waiting a bit longer till we name this one. But I would like to get them all named in the not too distant future. but also I'm not sure I want to feel forced to name the ancient dragons yet either. But you never know, something could come to us and it could sound good and we'll go with it. Right, folks, so I think we've got sold on a few. I think we're gonna. I was considering putting up with polls, but it seems like we got our heart set on some more than others, and like Yora's origin, and I think we're fine with that becoming Yora as the country name. So I'm making that big letters now. What do you reckon, folks? Everbloom Forest is in Yora. We'll go back to this one, and then we've got this one, and I think we were set on this one as well. The only question is, should we have Valley Spa end with an R or just Spa without the R? What are you drawn to, folks? Give a bit of feedback here, because I'm happy with either. The only reason I tried the version without the R is so that we didn't connect it too strongly to the paint brand. But the paint brand doesn't have the I in it anyway, so it's not even a big deal if we go with that one. And paint brand is nothing to do with Fantasy World, so it's not like we'd be sued for copyright. So yeah, the R gives it a bit more elegance, right? So let's just stick with that one. We'll see it as it was Spark of the Valiant on the map at once upon a time. Then it became Spa Valley, but then more recent citizens call it Valley Spa because they latched on to that, they liked it. Okay, so, and then we got this one. This was a bit of a harder one because we were sort of thinking of lots of different ways to word light. We thought it doesn't have to be light. But I did like the GI. I think the GI, ultimately we want all the countries to sound different. And we've got a VA, we've got a UR, and going for we've got the vowels in that, the U's, the VA, and something a bit different. The GI is like different sounding to what we've got, and distinct, and it's quite strong. So it's all about which one we prefer out of Gillig, Gillam and Girad, I think, folks. We could always do a vote for this, and whatever one wins works, because they either mean Gift of Light, Gift of Illumination or Gift of Radiance, and all of those could have totally been, you know, what was on the map at one point. That really fits the lore of that place. Yora works in my opinion too, yeah, and I like it with the R. That's awesome, folks. So we've got set on those country names, which is great. We had a couple of other ideas for this one, but we weren't as in love with it as we were that one. So we could just decide now which one we like best out of these three before we end the stream. I'm fine with any. We did sort of wonder whether we should name it after Lu Sa, who was the one who actually created this Gift of Light, but because we've said the tower is probably named after him, to avoid repetitiveness and everything beginning with Lu, and like, you know, for maybe going for a different adjective fits for that. And I think something like Gift of Light sums it up quite well, because it was a gift. You like Girad and Gillam? Awesome. Anybody else? What's everyone's thoughts? We're wondering what to go with, so it's all going to be about what we're drawn to the most, what sounds the best out of the three for this one. The Gillam's an interesting one because the Lu. We've got the Lu in there, haven't we? The Illumination, and I think that was a big part of why we went for Lu as the name of that legend, because illumination, luminous. So I'm inclined to go for that one because there's more meaning there in connections, but I like that we've put the Lu in the middle rather than the start. Because it sort of makes the word a bit different, and we don't have everything beginning with L in the area. So we don't want everything in that country to be Lu's moon, loom, and everything beginning with L. So it just gives a bit of variety having it in the middle rather than the start. So, but so shall we go for that? I mean, Van says that, so I'm sort of picking the one out the two that I'm drawn to, I suppose. So I'm making these ones smaller because if we're not going to go for them, we make them smaller. I made the big letters after the ones that we're going to go for. So, should we just replace the names and see how they look? Big letter. Right, folks, so this is your, I suppose, yeah, I'm getting the feel. Now, the next one. And this one, no, we haven't named that one yet, so Valley Spa for this one. So it's only this one that we don't know yet. And it'd be great if we, whatever one we go for this country, that it actually sounds good with the other four. So I want to see them all together. In fact, where's our map? Let's get our map up before we end the stream and write them on there and see how they look. We want to get a feel for this. So here's our world, not that. That's my messy, terrible 2-year-old style drawing of a tower. Right, so in bigger letters, of course, because these countries are going to have big letters on the map. Trying to figure out where's the best spot to put it. Probably there. I also, now I'm thinking about it, I'm glad I've gone with Gillam over Girad, because we've got the Ra in Yora, So having the Ra again, it might be repetitive, right? Because then we'd have Girad and then Yorad. So it's a bit of word variance. I like that. Letter variance, should I say. Okay, and then we have... get a nice purple for this one. Right, so I think they're all very distinct. They all begin with different names. You wouldn't get confused with one from the other, which is great. That was the goal. They're all easy to say. Oh, nice. Did you set up a transparent layer? I'm not sure actually. It's already like that, so I didn't even have to try. No. Okay, so we ended up just deciding in the end what we're going to name them, because there wasn't any like split choices or loving too many and not knowing which one to pick. So we feel that these get to the heart of what they're about. Like, let's put, the only one we haven't named is this country. Let me just, before I put what they used to be called there, because I'm going to do that in a sec, I'm going to just put question mark for this one because we didn't decide. In the end, we decided to go for more of it being named after the ancient dragon rather than the Art Haven, simply because the Art Haven is recent history and the dragon is ancient history, so it makes more sense for it to have been named in the same time periods that these ones were named, rather than something that happened more recently in the last 1,000 or 2,000 years, something that was more like 5,000 or 10,000 years ago, for consistency. But because we haven't really named our dragon legend yet, our Dra legend, or any lore around that just yet, that's why we've left it for now. But we'll keep it in mind, and when the time comes and we have some dragon names, then we'll name that one. And it'll be great if we go for one that again sounds really different. It begins with a different letter and from the others, so they don't sound too similar. Wallisbar, yeah. I like Vallisbar because it sounds strong and elegant, and that fits with the Fae. And it's got 3 syllables as well, which is interesting because the other 2 are 2. I think if it was Dwarven, maybe Wallisbar would maybe, I don't know. It sounds more like Vallisbar, well, you would, wouldn't you, Rex? Okay, so let's get the, I'm going to just get this in, it's just going to be big enough. So Spark of the Valiant, can't even spell, was the origin of Vallisbar. That's what it used to be called. The old maps would have had Spark of Valiant on them, and the new maps have Vallisbar on them. Because Spark of Valiant comes from the fact, you know, the Fae legend and what he did. He raised the city. And And you know, like, it's funny what Matt says, it's an interesting word, but if in the future there's ever another population of people that live in the Cloud City, like more like down to earth dwarven kind, or more bearded folk even, maybe they call it Wally Spot. Okay. Gilliam was gift of illumination. That's what that was inspired by, that country. Oh, it's all covered up. No, I want it to be showing. So the cool thing about that is we have gone with the whole light naming thing. We've stuck the Lu in there for illumination, bringing out that legend that brought the light to the world in the tower, but with the Lu is in the middle of the word with this one instead of the start, which kind of keeps it a bit more subtle. It's not obvious to people that this place was named after Lu. Because the reason for the gift of illumination is because this area has the landmark of the Tower of Light here, which was the replacement for the moon when it got dim. And Yora, that is simply from Yora's origin. And it was just really shortened down to Yora because it's simple. We were coming up with some really lengthy words like Yorigin, and it sounded like virgin, so I wasn't won over, but there was other ones like Yora's Forest and Yora's Rest and Yora's so-and-so, and in the end I think we just like the simple for this starting area, something memorable, short and sweet. And it's nice to have a three-letter short country in with them all. And at the end of the day it's still named after him, which was kind of the goal, going with something where it was named after him. Gosh, I keep squishing the damn country and I'm not meaning to. I'm just trying to find a good spot for it to go in, and it's lost its transparency. No! I want it to be transparent, so it'll cover everything up. There we go. No! It's a white bit in the way. I mean, I could just stick it there, but I like it being closer to the capital. And the forest origins, why have I put Yora's Forest? It was Yora's origin, not Yora's Forest in the end that we went for. I mean, it could be Yora's Forest because I had the sort of thought that this whole place was a forest once upon a time. But then there was deforestation happened because people got greedy, and that's possible. But if we want to be a bit less specific, we can call it Yora's origin. We could literally have it be anything because you know, it's just Yora, so whatever the second word is could be anything for us. It looks messy. Let's just chop this bit off the tiger zone and then it'll look nice so we can fit it in. It's not like it matters, but I just want the country names to look cool. Because some old world maps, like if we do decide to have like old scriptures and things scattered around the place in game and old books, some of the really old maps would have the longer description of the country. For when it was called that back in the day. Great wings, greyings. Oh, are you thinking great wings as in dragon for this place? If it didn't begin with G, maybe. Or we could. I'm very, very like sort of keen to make all the country names begin with a different letter. To make them distinct. But I do know it's going to be a tough one. This red one is this country here, because I want it to have the ancient dragon origins with its naming. I think that's cool and makes sense, because that's what was happening in this area back in that time before it became an art haven and free city. But I still don't want it to be so close to dragon sounding that it doesn't fit with this city when it does become an art haven. I want it to almost sound like, yeah, there's clearly it's clearly dragon inspired, but it sounds close enough to be an art haven too, or believable to be an art haven. Because I want the feel of the word to match with the feel of the themes of the place as well overall. Because realistically, Sermondown's and bloody nothing to do with dragons. It's become its own separate thing. Like, obviously the outside place has probably got all the dragon history, and especially further south. But it totally makes sense for this zone to be part of this country and not part of Valisbar, because Valisbar is literally its own independent nation, the Cloud City. So it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be, we're going to get a word, and it's going to feel just right for that place, but it might take a bit of time to for it to be the one that we're happy with most of all. But yes, I think it works that this is Yora. I think that's a good for the main segment of the game that we're going to begin in episode 1 and episode 2, and part of episode 3 as well. So it really is the key country, this one, because it's where we begin the game. It's where the main city is, where the government is, and all the goings on, really. And our journey will take us to obviously to this zone in the more second half of the saga, and then eventually here at Endgame, and partly in Gilliam for episode 3. But yeah, Yora really is ultimately the main areas, the heart of the world. Okay, and we haven't thought of the name of the actual world yet either. There is one suggestion we've had for the world now. Pordener by Dava, which is raindrop backwards, which is very interesting because the currency of the world and raindrops themselves, they weren't established until really recently. So maybe that was the sort of reason they established it in the end. They were like, well, look, the country, look, it's raindrop backwards. It's got to be raindrops that we have as the currency. I could imagine some very silly interaction like that happening. But who knows? It works though. If nothing else comes to mind. Alright folks, so I'm going to just save that map. I'm glad we've done that now. And it all works. It totally makes sense and connects with the lore we've made so far, these names. So we'll leave this other country for a little bit longer, just till inspiration strikes, till we have a bit more names. And we'll see what happens in the future when we decide to name that we come up with. But welcome back, Van. You haven't missed much. I just stuck the names of the countries on the map, and also the origin name, where it came from ancient history. And we got question mark for this one. So we'll say, okay, so it is end of stream. Oh my goodness. Time has flown by. We have successfully done the task that we needed to do. I did want to name all 4 countries by the end of stream today, which we've done apart from that one. Yeah, so it'll be something new next week, something else. What are we naming now? Nothing. I did briefly mention that we don't have a world that's named yet. I'm going to just put, what I am going to put here, just before we end stream today, are the suggestions for that, for the future. This isn't something we have to do now. We can still keep it in mind what the world actually is. For now, no, leave it for the future. I mean, this was the one and only suggestion that we've had from the community so far. And it was an interesting one because Raindrops clearly is very heavy themed, and it's almost like they could have used the country name being backwards as a reason why they went for Raindrops as the currency, but maybe there's more depth to why it would be called that than, because Raindrops is very key in this world. But that was just a nice, funny suggestion by Dave. Whether we go for that, don't know. If we can link some lore with that, and it worked, and it went beyond just pure comic relief, that would be good too. But if anyone has any other thoughts, feel free to say. It was a completely serious suggestion. Yeah, it is. It's worthy of being on there. I mean, there's nothing else that struck us just yet. And it sounds nice. And I think it's worthy of considering how it all came about. But there's a really recent discovery in regards to Raindrops. I mean, is it? I mean, it is, because the government decided to make a currency, but it also was, it's had its magical property in it a long time, before the government even discovered that it had a magical property. So, the origins of the entire world, the Raindrops could go back well far. But the government just weren't strong enough or weren't powerful enough to realise the significance of Raindrops until, they had the resources and the knowledge and the scientific knowledge. So that's something to consider, although to us it's just a recent history. There could be more. Raindrops could have a much deeper significance in the long run. So that's just something to consider, knowing that fact, that could be interesting. It is called Raindrop Chronicles, so raindrops being a key theme isn't a good one. Okay, so I mean, that's something to keep in mind. It's nothing we're going to set our heart on just yet, but it's thoughts, interesting thoughts to have. It could be used. Yeah, see what I mean? I mean, I thought that at first myself. I was like, yeah, it's the currency's recent, but and there's also, before we end, thinking of how were the government able to convince people to establish Raindrops as a currency, because it probably took a number of years for them to convince, and there was probably all this propaganda going around about why Raindrops shouldn't be currency. People were probably attached to gold or whatever else they had before Raindrops for quite a while. But eventually Raindrops would have been successfully established as the currency, and there would have had to have been a damn good reason why, a convincing reason. They could have said, oh, did you notice that the world is Raindrop backwards? That's why it should be the currency, and it's silly. But they could have even said it was a message from the gods that the world was named that, and Raindrop is backwards, so it was meant to be, you know, something very silly like that. I think the draw should be very against it, yeah. So I mean, we hadn't really spent much time building the lore of the economy and how it was successfully established in the end. But maybe they could have used it as being a message from the gods or something, because they secretly put the word raindrop in the name of the word. So they need to go for it because that's what the gods want and what they say. Or they could just not realise the connection. Yeah, maybe they never did. But then we'd need another good reason of how they were able to successfully establish the currency without war or strife. So, yeah. And following the dragons is still keep to the gold standard. Yeah, so that, what you mentioned, Van, about them keeping to gold could also make sense because they are in the desert a lot of the draw. They did migrate to Everbloom Forest, but a lot of them still remain here, and obviously because the desert doesn't have much rain. I mean, it probably has some amount of rainfall during certain seasons, but certainly not as much as the rest of the world. Could be a reason for why they rebelled against raindrops as a currency as well. They wanted something that was more, that they'd get more of. So there's a lot of things to consider there. So yeah, I will put a close to the stream now. I have to rush off because, oh my goodness, it's 6:30. I should have ended a long time ago. But I'm glad that we have finished, and we'll move on to something else next week, whether it's more world building or designing the new HD sprites for Carol's and her Barrel family. The others, we've already done Carol's now, but we still got to do Meryl, Alvira and Hank's. We might give Woody a glow up as well, but he might not need it, but we'll see. It's mainly the Barrel because they have little tiny eyes. We'll give them the glow up. So we'll see what's best to do next week. It'll either be that or more world building. Thank you for the stream, coming up with the name ideas. It was indeed. Name streams are lots of fun, for sure. So, awesome. And I will see you next week, folks. It's been a good week of streams. And I hope you have a good weekend, folks. Thanks so much for hanging out. Take care. And we'll see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.